Hey everybody, Peter Soros here with realestateskills.com. I've got another great story to share with you today. One of our students, Brayden, in the Tampa Bay area of Florida, just closed his first wholesale deal. On market, no money out of pocket. Him and his partner ended up profiting $10K. So let's dive in so you can hear all the details about it. I heard like a rumor that you had closed your deal, and that's why I wanted to reach out to you, and I heard the good news. So looking forward to hearing all the details, and I'm sure everyone else wants to hear about all the details about it too. Before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about, Brayden. Tell us about your background, professionally, what you've been doing for work up till this point, and then also like what made you want to get into real estate investing to begin with.
Yeah, so to be completely honest, I did not graduate high school. I didn't go to college. So my route was a little different than, my friends and people that I grew up with. I was just trying to figure it out. I knew I wanted to do something with myself. There for a minute, I was doing valet. Then I was trying to figure out, what route is best for me with the situation I was in, not having a college degree, things like that. So I was like always interested in sales. I knew kind of that's the route I wanted to take. So there for a minute, I was doing valet, and then I was trying to figure out like, okay, should I do insurance or, real estate or, just trying to figure it out. And then I hopped in solar. So I was doing door-to-door sales. It was good learning, good character building.
It's tough stuff. It's tough. Door to door. It's rough. Yeah.
It is rough, but it was a good start. It taught me some good things. And then at the time, I was paying bills. I have bills to pay. So I was like, okay, you know what? We got to go back to valet. It's not the time to sit here and try to learn a sale because, we got bills to pay. So
right.
I was doing valet. I hopped back into valet again. And then, I was trying to figure out something to do on the side. I was thinking about getting into life and health insurance. Heard some things about it. I was like, eh. So then I talked to my dad. He had a buddy who has his own company, Wholesaling real estate. And that's when, I came across it. It was like, have you ever heard about wholesaling? And I was like, no. And then he told me about it, learned about it, did my own research. And then I came across you guys. I was like, you know what? These guys seem pretty legit. And then I hopped in.
Nice. What was it about real estate skills specifically? Because I'm sure you became familiar with multiple other, options out there, and even, that contact that you had personally. What kind of drove you to coming and working at or learning from real estate skills?
To me, you guys stuck out because it seemed like a real business. You guys seemed like more legit. Other people were just single person, just explaining how they do it. And, there's so many people who have their own ways of wholesaling, off market, on market, sub two, novations, So I kind of just was on your YouTube, just watching video by video. And Alex, he made, it sound very clear and very, simple. And that just clicked with me the most out of all of the other guys out there.
Nice to hear it. Always curious to hear what makes people decide to, go with real estate skills. Me being a student myself and then having success and things like that. It's always interesting to hear other people's stories and how they all came to it. So you were doing valet first. You still doing things like that too, just to keep paying the bills, or what are you doing right now full time, or what are you doing?
So to be completely honest, my girlfriend, she finished college, so now we live together. I was working. I ended up stop working so I could focus fully on this, and everything's been good. I mean, God willing, deals keep coming, but I'm putting my all into it. My girlfriend, she's supportive of it. So I'm wholesaling every day. I started my own LLC. You guys taught me it all. I still use, your guys' calculator, all of the CRM, all of that good stuff. And I mean, I've just been going full time. I kind of created my own schedule. So every day I try to, make calls from 10 to around 3, 4. I've got daily goals I try to hit, so it's good. I've been trying to get to, these RIA events. just build up my network and, meet other wholesalers in the area who are having
Hmm.
success. I'm still working on building my network of buyers,
Hmm.
but I think that's something you're always gonna, be working on, is building, better and more
Yeah.
relationships with buyers.
Awesome. Awesome. Good to hear. Yeah, I mean, it's great to have a support system, just people supporting you in this venture. And it can be consistent. You gotta keep that machine going. I always say it's the hard part is building that machine. Once you get those gears going, it kind of just works itself as long as you maintain it, keep oiling the machine, and then you can keep adding and building it and making a bigger machine. But yeah,
Exactly.
keep with it, be consistent with it. Most importantly, just like anything else, submit offers, submit offers, submit offers, submit offers. Number one thing,
A hundred
hit your
percent.
hit your either daily, weekly goals for that, and then you should be in a good territory where you've got a pipeline, you're following up with people. That's going to be one of the biggest things you can do is follow up on a daily basis with agents. Hey, got anything new this week? I literally get text messages almost every day from other buyers
Yeah,
because I'm an agent as well. What did it cost you to get this lead that you did your first deal?
it's free. So, yeah, I
Beautiful.
work on market,
Hmm.
like you guys taught me to.
Hmm.
And yeah, I do on market. It was free. I go on Zillow, because I'm
Hmm.
most familiar with it, and I kind of like the layout a little bit better than the other
Hmm.
sites. But yeah, it was free, man.
Awesome. Yeah, we always like to just make that out there because people always think, oh, they're paying for stuff or they're buying leads or they're like, no, this is not what we
Yeah,
teach. I mean, off market works 100%, but you need to have capital to start spending. Unless
exactly.
unless you want to go door knocking
Yeah,
and driving
right.
for dollars.
Right. It's just a
Yeah.
lot more headache and stress when, they're
Hmm.
right here, The deals are
Exactly.
right here on Zillow, Redfin. So I mean,
Hmm. 100%. So, what area are you in that you're investing in?
yeah, so I live in Tampa. I mean, you guys
Hmm.
said it's best to, kind of start where, you're from,
Hmm.
because you're more familiar with the areas and whatnot. So I work currently
Hmm.
in Tampa and St.
Hmm.
Pete, just generally in that area. Just two
Okay,
areas.
perfect. And that's where your deal was it in Tampa specifically?
Yeah, so it was in St. Pete, which is
Okay.
30 minutes
Yeah.
across the
Hmm.
bridge. So
Hmm.
St. Pete's been really good. Tampa, it's, a little smaller, more competitive, I'm realizing.
Hmm.
But yeah, St. Pete was where the first deal was.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, those competitive markets take some time sometimes to kind of penetrate into that because there's going to be, some similar players in there and you kind of have to kind of rise to the top and show that you're a serious player and it can be done. I did my first deal in San Diego County, thinking like how the heck am I going to break into San Diego County? But sure enough, my first deal was an amazing deal too on market. So they are out
Nice.
there.
100%.
So, yeah, so tell us about this deal. What kind of a property were we dealing with? Bed and bath count, square footage? Tell us the story behind it.
Yeah, it was a 3 bed, 2 bath. It had an indoor pool. It was 2,400 square foot, but I think without like the pool
The pool.
counting, like without the pool, it was around like 1,600 square foot, maybe
Hmm.
1,400 square foot, which ended up coming back, and, we had to renegotiate and made things a
Hmm.
little bit,
Make more
trickier.
sense. Yeah.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
it all ironed out, and things ended up going through. So
Okay, great. So what was it listed at? Do you remember what it was listed at?
yes, it was listed at 375,
375 and you got it under contract for
325.
okay, nice. So what 50K off the list price on
Correct.
market, which a lot of people think, oh, you can't do that. Like
Yeah,
you don't
correct.
you don't know what I'm capable of. Right. All right. So you get it at that price. Had a little issue while it was under contract just because of the square footage was they weren't being totally accurate with how they were calculating that. Surprise,
Correct.
surprise, happens all the time. So did that, you get under contract, and did you put earnest money deposit in? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I've been working with a partner in the
Hmm.
area, and
Hmm.
he's been helping me find buyers because at first I had trouble finding
Hmm.
buyers for the deal. I would get a
Hmm.
deal under contract and then have trouble moving it.
Right.
So then I came across, a Dispo partner, kind of, wasn't really as legit as I thought. And
Okay.
then I finally came across another company that's kind of local, and they help
Hmm.
wholesalers like me find buyers.
Hmm.
So I worked with a partner of mine, and
Hmm.
they helped me submit the EMD, so I didn't have to come out of pocket for the EMD,
Okay.
which is pretty cool.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. So then you guys had probably some kind of an arrangement for splitting the assignment fee or something like that.
Correct. And the original assignment fee was 20,
Hmm.
but after with the renegotiations and
Hmm.
the issue with the square footage,
Hmm.
we had to come down, and we made 10 off of it. So
And then they probably got their EMD reimbursed, so they were all clean,
exactly,
perfect, made whole.
exactly.
Great. I mean, not bad. What was the entire timeline of like getting under contract to closing? Was it about 2 weeks, longer than that? Kind of how long of the process was it?
Late March, and closing was for April 13th. So about 2 weeks, two and a half
Two,
weeks.
2.5 weeks, 3 weeks tops. Yeah, sounds
Yeah,
pretty standard for closing. Um, we always say 2 weeks, but there's always something that comes up that ends up
a
extending
hundred
things.
percent.
Yeah. Um, about how many offers do you think you've submitted before you finally got this one to close? I know you've had some other ones accepted, but you had to cancel those. What's kind of like your offer ratio, or at least how many offers did you submit before you got this one finally closed?
Yeah, so I'm trying to get better at keeping track of,
Yeah.
numbers and output. But
Hmm.
I couldn't tell you an exact number, but my goal is to submit at least 5 to 10 offers a day. I mean, I started, I want to say late 2025, so around like December, start of
Hmm.
2026, January is when I really started going full time, like really
Hmm.
putting all of it, all my all into it. I had a deal under contract, and it's like, okay, yes,
Yeah.
actually, making
Hmm.
progress. And then you sign the contract, and it's like, okay, I know how to sign the contract. And then,
Hmm.
it goes to title, and now title's reaching out to you, and you're like, okay, you're learning the process as you go. That's why I didn't really give up, because I knew like I was getting closer and closer, learning
Hmm.
more.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, every month before that deal closed, I was able to get a deal under contract.
Hmm.
So my issue was, finding buyers and getting the deal sold.
Right. Yeah, I always say it's easy to get an offer accepted. You can just offer way too high, right?
Right, a hundred
That part
percent.
that part's easy, but negotiating it down to the price that's going to work for your buyers, and that in the end, that's what has to happen. It has to work for your buyers. The sellers just either need to realize this property is worth or not, and they're just going to sit on it, and then locking it up and then assigning it to the right buyer, getting in front of the right buyers. That's the other challenge. But I always like to
Yeah,
remind students, you get a deal under contract and you start talking to buyers, you're already like 90, 95% of the way there. So even if you've had to cancel, I always like to remind everyone, like you were almost at the finish line. Like that's still a
exactly.
win. And it's okay to cancel deals if they're not good. I've canceled tons of deals, but that
Yep.
helped me never lose any money too. So it's
Yep.
okay to fold when you don't have the best cards in your hand. So what would you say was the most challenging part about all of this process?
The most challenging part, I would say, is, sticking with it when, it doesn't feel like, things are going your way. Because, I mean, it's easy to learn it, to watch it, but it's hard to actually do it and
Mm-hmm.
stick with it when, you're submitting offers and nobody's accepting it, or
Mm-hmm.
agents are you a wholesaler?
Yeah.
Beep, so just
Mhm.
sticking with it really is the hardest part. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's something most people forget to mention. They usually talk about like the details, like, oh, calling people and all that, but that is the hardest part. That's the most important part, because it doesn't matter anything else. If you're quitting and you don't think you can do this, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much talent you
100%.
have, how many resources you have, how much money you have. None of those things matter if you don't even think you can do this,
Yeah,
or have a strong enough reason to do this. So, that's
exactly.
why we always bring up, like, why did you decide to do this? Why is this so important to you? Because starting a business is not easy. I mean, that, and sales is not easy.
Yeah,
It's probably the one profession where you can get paid the most out of anybody else, but you have to do things that virtually nobody wants to do. you
yeah.
know that's the trade-off. So there's the challenges. Was there anything that was actually easier than you thought it was going to be?
Not necessarily. I
Hmm.
would say,
Like, that went smoother than I thought it was going to go.
yes,
Anything like that? Yeah.
getting in touch with agents. I thought,
Hmm.
they're not going to want to hear me out or, conversate
Hmm.
with me, but more calls you do, you realize like, hey, they're trying to get a sale, they're trying to get paid too. But yeah, I mean, getting in touch with agents and building good rapport with agents, I thought that was
Hmm.
going to be hard, but it was easier than I expected. Just the whole process, right? You're always in your head and you think like, oh, it's harder than what it is until you actually go through it. I was just a big person on like little by little, step by step. So like if, the deal didn't go through, but it made it to title and I actually
Hmm.
submitted the EMD,
Yep.
it's progress, right? Because the deal before I wasn't able to even do that.
Right.
So I think just learning step by step is, key.
Yeah, you're making progress on everyone. You're making connections on every transaction, whether it goes through or not.
Yeah,
You're learning something. So there's always something you can take from every single deal that you work on, whether it closes or
exactly.
not. So that's important to that you're realizing that, because that's important. Okay, so you close your first deal. Anything else in the pipeline right now? Offer sent? Any negotiations you're in talks with
Yeah,
right now? Or?
I just had to cancel one of the contracts
Okay.
that I had on contract. But I'm submitting more offers today. I've already submitted a
Hmm.
couple. I'm submitting offers every day. So,
Awesome. Awesome.
it's either
That.
rejection or, there
Hmm.
might be one or two saying like, hey, let me talk to the
Hmm.
sellers and see what's up. I had a
Hmm.
walkthrough this morning at 10
Hmm.
because, some agents, they don't want any blind offers. So sometimes
Right.
if I have to, I'll
Hmm.
go out and take a look at it and then submit my offer.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How's that interaction when you're meeting with the agents in person? How's that going? How are you feeling with those?
Yeah, at first it was a little weird because I'm like, I'm young, I look like
Hmm.
this. So it's like,
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, this kid's not buying this house.
Hmm.
But over time I just, you just gotta have confidence. I've done a couple of walkthroughs. So,
Yeah.
the more you do, the more comfortable and confident you'll get. And you'll realize, I was just in my own head. But yeah, no.
Yeah. A lot of it is that, like you said, getting in your own head. And I think also I like to remind a lot of the younger students that sometimes what you have to do is play a little mind game with yourself. Think of yourself that, again, this is why we teach it, that you have partners. You're the go-to person to go get the deals for your partners.
Yeah.
Just like, almost like you're an employee to a cash buyer.
Yeah.
If you start thinking you're like an associate, advisor, whatever, you need to put that in your head that way. It's just like, oh, okay, yeah, I can go do this because I'm representing this company in a way. And
Yes.
if you guys are partners that way, and if you approach it that way, if that's what it takes for you to feel more comfortable, to be more confident in the conversations during the walkthroughs, then so be it. And in a way, that is what we're trying to do anyway, is to have that close of a relationship with the cash buyer anyway, to where we're almost like we're just getting deals for them. And there
Yeah.
are some students that once they get to that point, that's exactly what they do. They're just getting deals for their handful of buyers all the time because they trust them. They know that they will bring me good deals, and you
Yeah.
have all this confidence behind you that what you're doing is on point and it makes sense. So um, it just takes some time to realize that,
A
you
hundred
know.
percent.
But hey, you're doing this now. I wish I would have been doing this at your age. So I got started in my late 30s. So, um,
Better late than
but
never, though.
It's never too late with real estate. That's the great thing about it.
100%.
So what is the best thing that has happened to you since closing this deal? Like, have you noticed anything change around you? You know, like the way family, friends,
Yeah,
anything changing?
yeah, for sure, all of it, really. But
Hmm.
I feel more humbled because it's like,
Hmm.
got my first deal, but it's like we still got a long way to go, you know.
Hmm.
But that first deal is very, good for the soul,
Yeah. Hmm.
and
It's the
yeah, it's
hardest
great.
one. The first deal
Yeah,
is
for
always the
sure,
hardest one. It's always
for
the hardest
sure.
one on many different levels. But then after that, things start to get easier in sense of like what you feel it's going to take out of you. And then there's a lot of things where you just realize like, okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, you know?
Yeah.
But it's always curious to see what the reactions are of the people around you. Because once people
Mhm.
start saying, "Oh, you actually did that," like, you mean it's real? It's not fake, you know?
Yeah, no, because you before the first deal, you're in your own head too, thinking like, man,
Hmm.
can I do this?
Hmm.
So once you get it, it's very, good. It helps build the confidence. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
I'm actually doing this.
Yeah.
Because for a minute there, I was like, yeah, wholesale. Well, do you have
Hmm.
you closed the deal? It's like, but once you close that first deal, it's like, I'm wholesaling. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
great. It's good.
Awesome. That's good to hear. So what's your long-term goal with this? I know you're still submitting offers for doing wholesales. What's your long-term goal in real estate?
Yeah, so obviously to keep going, get more deals under my belt, learn
Hmm.
more, you know, eventually, possibly build a team, but I'm
Hmm.
not sure if, it's worth the headache and, all of
Hmm.
that. So one route could be scaling and building a team. And then
Hmm.
another route, which I'm feeling more like comfortable and confident about where I see myself going is,
Hmm.
getting into fix and flips, develop, and then, just buying and holding, just actually
Hmm.
investing in real estate.
Yep, that's the evolution of the real estate investor, as we say. Start as a wholesaler, learn to find good deals and acquire them. Maybe go, and depending on your market, you could jump right into buy and holds.
Hmm.
Depending on the price points, or doing some fix and flips. A lot more risk, lot more risk with fix and flip,
Yeah.
but obviously the returns are a lot higher too, potentially. How does this compare to what you've been doing before? I mean, I actually used to work valet too. That was my first job, being a valet. So I know what that was like at a
Yeah.
casino. So it was a lot of fun, but it's nothing like what I get to do now. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, how does that feel?
It feels good. Personally, it feels like I'm finding purpose, because I know there for the longest, I was like, I know what I'm doing now isn't,
Mm-hmm.
where I want to be. But I mean, I
You
think
did
it's
something about it though. You did something about it though.
exactly, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And there for a minute, it was just trying to figure out what exactly it was.
Mm-hmm.
But, I came across you guys, and then I learned it. And then, I really like turned that switch on where I was like, okay, let me dedicate myself to this and put my all into it and see if it works
Mm-hmm.
out. If it works out, it does. And if not, okay, we'll figure something else out. But yeah, I just went all in and here we
Mm-hmm.
are.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have gone down that same route, tried other things too, and just nothing stuck. And this is the one that stuck. And then once you've got that first deal, you're like, okay, this is for real. Put all your eggs in one basket, basically, at this point. Don't get distracted with anything else. Just stick within this realm of real estate.
Yep.
And I think as you get better, you start to realize, okay, I can start venturing off into some other niches, some other little categories within real estate investing. But I think you're on the right path. I think you've got the right mindset. I think you've got the right discipline too, because that's what a lot of this is going to require, is discipline. You've got the right why. You've got a lot to work towards for yourself and the people around you. So I think you've got all the right pieces in place. It's just a matter of just continuously executing constantly. It
Yep.
sounds boring, but in a lot of ways, it's good that you know exactly what you have to do every day, and then it's the sky's the limit, as opposed to just
Exactly.
punching in every day. Like, what am I doing today? Like doing the same thing every day,
Yep.
making the same amount every day, and then not knowing if you're ever going to have a job the next day, right?
Right.
When you work for someone else.
Yeah.
Um, so I love to see this. I'm excited to see where you end up going with this in the future. So real quick, what kind of advice would you give to anyone who is going to be watching this? What would you give them advice in terms of whether they're on the fence of starting with real estate investing and maybe even, with real estate skills? What kind of advice would you give someone who's on the fence?
Find some people, that you trust and that are knowledgeable about, real estate, which for me, it was you guys.
Hmm.
And then, just execute and just do it. Part of it's
Hmm.
like, it's easy to talk about, it's easy to learn and go through the training, but it's another thing to get on the calls and, learn from trial and error and,
Hmm.
push through when, your offers are getting rejected. But yeah, find somebody, to learn from and
Hmm.
just do it.
How helpful was it having like the community and the support from the real estate skills community and from the coaches? How useful was that for you? Building confidence or getting through that, just getting and stacking your wins to get to that first deal. How important and was that?
I mean, that's key. I don't think I would be here without you guys. I mean, I use your
Hmm.
guys as calculator to this day. I
Hmm.
still, use your CRM and, all of
Hmm.
the tools you guys provided me with. And then on top of that, you guys gave me the foundation and gave me kind of a perspective of, how to go about this. Cause like I mentioned before, wholesaling and real estate in general, everybody's got their, own ways of doing it. Right. But yeah, I mean, you guys were key. And I think it's important to find somebody and learn from them.
Hmm. Very well said. Anything else you'd like to leave everybody with? Any other kind of tips or advice or?
God's great, and
Hmm.
just stick with it. Go all in, stay consistent, and just be a sponge, learn,
Hmm.
step by step. And that's really it.
Yeah, yeah. Have some. I always say, have some faith in yourself. Be nice to yourself. Be graceful with yourself. But you got to push yourself because you got to do things you've never done before, most likely.
Yeah, exactly. And something I've learned is like getting outside of your comfort zone is like the best thing you could do because, when you're getting outside of your comfort zone, you're learning how to, move different and you're just learning different things. So I think for me, it was,
Hmm.
I'm not really comfortable with certain things and I learned how
Hmm.
to, do it. So now it
Yeah,
just, you're just getting better. So
yeah. I think a lot of times seeing all the students who have come in, there's something that's like calling us to do this, and with kind of background you've had, and I realized, okay, all the work I did is like a valet or working in hospitality and then doing some sales, like all of that helped prepare me for this. All of that helped me to prepare for what I can do now, where now this is like, it's not easy, but it's not like incredibly difficult either. There's a lot of hoops you got to jump through. You got to have a lot of kind of background and knowledge and education, but it is really doable if you apply yourself, if you take the necessary steps to learn what you have to learn to do this. And then in the end, like you say, there's a part of you in there that needs to come out. This is kind of why you're here, you
yeah.
know? And you have to, this is like part of the challenge is not just, sometimes I like to say this, the money that you'll make is the side effect. But what you're really doing is building yourself.
100%. I
Because the
like that
person,
one.
yeah, the person you're building has to be that kind of person that can handle this kind of responsibility, that can handle these kind of conversations, deal with contracts. Like I remember I used to be so scared, like I'm gonna like lose someone's money and like then I found
Yeah.
out I'm not gonna lose anybody's money, not even my own. Like what was I worried about?
Hmm.
But in the end, you end up building yourself into this person that really is, I like to believe has been in there the whole time. You're just like freeing that true spirit of yourself. And this is what a business can help you do. Business in a
Yes.
way it's a very creative thing. Some people say it's a very spiritual thing to start a business, your own business,
Yes.
because it's like you have to go inside a lot because it's all on you, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I can see that happening with you. You're putting a lot of, trust and faith, in yourself to do this, and also a higher power, as I've heard you say, there's nothing that can stop you at that point when you've got those things. So it's very transformational things that you can actually go through when doing this business. We get caught up in the numbers and how many offers we're submitting and things like that. And sometimes we have to take a step back and see, like, who am I becoming because of this? That's why it's, that question is, what are people seeing in what we're doing now? Like, oh, like, you're doing that? Like, I didn't know that was like in you to do stuff like that. Like, this is real. Like, people's perception of you starts to shift, even your own about yourself, and then the world starts to shift. So that's how big it is, the way I see it. It's a lot more than just the money, honestly.
100%.
Well, this was great. This is going to be a huge inspiration to a lot of people. It always makes me feel good that what I'm putting back out into the community and the students, they're having success. This program changed my life, and I know it can change other people's lives. So I'm happy to be a part of that. It's an honor to be a part of that in other people's lives.
Yeah, you guys are crushing it, man. I mean, at first, it's you're very skeptical on like, joining a group and paying money, but it was all worth it, to be honest. And your community, you guys are great. Great leaders, great community. It was an honor being a part of the community. So thank you.
We always appreciate hearing that. It means a lot to us because that's what we do every day. Alex and Ryan were like, all right, let's go change some lives today.
Yeah, no, you guys are doing it all right. So, I mean.
Well, Brayden, it was an honor talking with you about this. Can't wait to see what you do in the future. Keep in touch, reach out to us. We're here for you. And on to the next one, right?
Exactly. And I appreciate you having me on here, Peter, and looking forward to the future, man.
Awesome. All right, Brayden, we'll be in touch, okay?
100%. All right, Peter.
Take care.
Peace.
And there you have it. Brayden's story is a perfect example of what can happen when you stay disciplined, commit 100%, and really follow through with the education that you've received. Accept the support, raise your hand, ask for help, be part of a community of people like-minded, working towards the same goals, and also with a support group of advisors and coaches helping you along the way. You're not just being thrown out into the wolves, but you have to do the work. That's what the great example that Brayden has demonstrated, is that he took it to heart, basically took the, burn the boats kind of approach to this and just said, I'm doing this 100%. And thankfully he has support at home for him to choose this path. And, as long as he keeps doing what he's doing and growing with this, the sky is the limit. So if you guys are ever interested in learning a little bit more about the real estate skills community, head on over to realestateskills.com, drop us a line, and we'll chat soon. All right, see y'all in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.